Hello, folks. Today is Go Around the Globe Day. Haven't done it in a while. Discussing the SCO, which I find the most contradictory combination. Shanghai Cooperation, whatever organization. Then the other one is the BRICS, right? Both of these are now China-centric. SCO somehow is trying to play the Russia uses the SCO to somewhat keep control of Central Asia. China, on the other hand, is trying to make its way into to Central Asia. And BRICS, really BRICS. I mean, without India, what is BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia. India is actually what keeps China together with this, because otherwise China has no play at all at BRICS, really BRICS, right? That's the one thing that I've really found kind of strange, right? However, the guys on Indian analysts basically say it's, keeping our options open, staying on the inside gives us a place on the table, whatever it is. But it's just a sheer waste of time. And what we have here is Saudis ties Jaishankar call help in Sudan evacuation. Oh, well. And this is another one this is just a small one. India denies Hezbollah links. We are Hindu, won't back Islamic terror. This is Naomi Canton writing out of London. Apparently this guy, Sundar Nagarajan, the Indian citizen accused of running the funds for one of the top financiers of Hezbollah, Nazim Ahmed, has denied all the allegations against him and told a London court on Tuesday his family is Hindu and would never support Islamic terrorism. He hasn't seen India's history, folks. He hasn't seen India's history. The only people who helped, whether it was the Mughals or the Muslims or the British, were all our religion, right? And like I was talking about SCO, India and the SCO paradox, written by Raja Mandla, even as the Eurasian Forum looks attractive to a growing number of regional states, its internal contradictions are casting a shadow over its strategic coherence. He says, Delhi's engagement with the SCO at all these decades was premised on Russian primacy in the region and Moscow's support for India's regional interests. For India, a strong and independent Russia is critical for maintaining the inter-Asian balance. But Delhi is in no position to ensure Moscow's strategic autonomy from Beijing. That depends on Russian strategic choices. Delhi's burden in SCO must now be to protect its own interests amidst a rapidly changing regional power distribution in China's favor. That's something you have to know. And this is the other one, right? Chanakya, the myth and reality of the SCO grouping. Being a part of SCO is a sign of the messiness of today's world order, but India recognizes the group's limitations, uses it for limited purposes, and intends to work closely with its real powers. The Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu used the platform to launch a tirade against the West in general and the United States in particular. Besides hurling other allegations, Moscow said it was unhappy that the West was seeking to contain China and blamed the US for the intensification of tension across the Taiwan Straits and South and East China Sea. Russian categorically mentioned Quad and AUKUS as evidence of Washington creating blocs, and of course it blamed the US for the war in Ukraine. Here's the problem. India probably disagrees with all of these positions articulated by Russia, right? You can imagine. But the serious policymakers in Delhi are aware that Russia invaded Ukraine and Vladimir Putin crossed a line in February 22. And not only is India a key member of Quad, it privately believes that AUKUS is a useful addition to the Indo-Pacific security architecture. Delhi's interests lie in West taking a strong position against China, and if Washington has finally woken up to the threat posed by Beijing, that's seen as the best piece of strategic news in Delhi's power corridors, right? Here's the problem. Over 100,000 people, Liberation Army and Indian Army personnel are engaged in a direct face-off at the line of control. China violated the core of 98 political understanding. It ramped up its presence at the border, intruded into territory with India considers its own, launched aggressive operations, engaged Indian troops in a bloody clash with killed soldiers in Galwan, and hasn't disengaged from key friction points or de-escalated in general. Delhi has consistently told Beijing that until peace and tranquility is restored in the border, bilateral relations cannot go back to normal. Either China hasn't got the import of the message or believes that India will have to live with the new status quo. And I think it's the latter. And let's see what happened here. Bilateral ties only after border peace, China told, say, Rajnath, border villages can help fight Chinese buildup. Absolutely, but this is a slow process. India-China agree to maintain LAC stability. No breakthrough in China border talks. India presses for troop disengagement with China. LAC violations have eroded bilateral ties India to China. Army to create special units to sharpen cyber capabilities. Violation of pacts eroded basis of ties India to China. India sends tough message on terrorism at SCO meet. This would have been better had the Prime Minister voiced the same thing. China seeks to de-link ties with LAC situation as usual. Take long-term view. China to India on border tension means eat hog India up. But this is the main play card. Buddhist teachings by Indian masters gave courage to face Tibet crisis, as Dalai Lama, and as Sriram Chulia writes, India's re-emergence as a leader of global Buddhism. And this is what we got to stay focused on. China again seeks to de-link standoff at LAC with bilateral relations. Day after India hit out, China says situation on LAC travel. Russia, but that's why SCO is so absolutely ridiculous for India. Russia stands by China at SCO meeting, targets US and its allies. Little evidence, and then the US comes out and says, little evidence, China serious in talks stable with India, says US, and everybody knows that, and the Indian government. And an Indian trade delegation visits Russia to explore agri-exports. I am not sure what we're going to export, especially what we have, right? Russia launches initiative to boost INSTC. Ain't gonna work. India, Iran, Armenia launch trilateral to create corridor to Russia and Europe. All's good till you hear this. US seizes Iran oil cargo on tanker at sea amid Tehran nuclear deal tensions, right? Azerbaijan, Armenia to hold peace talks today in Washington. Ballyho! So Azerbaijan and Armenia, the small piece. Azerbaijan and Armenia. Azerbaijan backed by Turkey, hammered Armenia backed by Russia. Armenia realized first and for all that Russia was a Kali Dakkan going tung, and of no use. This got totally hammered and destroyed, just like they're getting destroyed by Ukraine. So guess where they're having the peace talks? In the United States. United States in place in Azerbaijan and Armenia. And Russia wants to get to INSTC. I don't think it's going to work, right? Need to fix accountability for those backing terror. Show Rajnath, but who's that? Ukraine to supply, but here's what Rajnath should worry about. Ukraine to supply Mi-17 helicopter engines and spare parts to Ukraine, right? US treats India at par with NATO partners for high-tech trade officials. This and Russia. This is what you got to see. Russia, bunkum. Useless bunkum. This is for all the annals, straight up and front. This is the only place India's foreign policy is failed. Russia and China. China, because I think there's some convoluted nefarious business activities with the lobby from a particular state and China, and that's why we're not doing anything about it, right? And Russia, because hey, Russia's got us by the by the short and curly, right? India at par with NATO nations for tech trade, says US officials. We should realize where our bread is buttered. Ready to resolve our differences, China holds talks in the Philippines. Philippines is the first piece to fall off in the ASEAN. An important one. Suspect in US intel files leak shared into earlier known before. And this is the other one. Japan PM Kishida to visit South Korea will meet President Yoon. Another important coming together, which is worrying North Korea and China. Biden Papua New Guinea trip coincides with Modi in May. This is an important trip to coincide, and we should make the best of it, right? India has done a really good job everywhere else in the world, except, like I said, folks, Russia and China. Philippines confronts China over dispute in South China Sea. Finally got it with the Marcos. Massive fire at Crimea oil depot. Moscow blames strikes with Kiev. Kiev's coming back. Indian oil companies dividends totaling up to 400 million from Russia project stuck. That's what's going to happen. Keep going after Russian oil. This is what's going to happen. Quad summit could see pact to deter cyber threats from China's sources. This is where it's at. We are useless as far as cyber threats are concerned. Focus, we are a technology company, but useless. Quad AUKUS attempts to contain China's says Russia. Well, welcome to the table, good Sir G. Australia to host next Quad Leaders Summit on May 24th. 100 delegates visit monasteries in Ladakh for pre-G20 meeting. Important me. Modi to attend 2023 Quad Summit in Sydney on May 24. What's behind Europe's balancing act with China? And all Indian commentators and professors will say the same thing. That it's the nuclear problem, but the problem is after Russia attacked Ukraine, Germany has realized that its bread is buttered on this side. The entire Nordic region, the entire Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, all are, and the Central European are all with the United States, leaving France and Germany. Germany is also tilting. The Dutch, the European Union. There is no confusion, Mr. Mohan. No confusion at all. Delhi set to host talks on Myanmar crisis tomorrow. Sooner the better. And then you have that China, Ukraine leaders hold first talk since war, and it ain't going anywhere. She ain't getting anywhere. She is just, what do you call that? He isn't an honest broker. He's just I think he's just a bluff and buster, a bluster. And India must realize it has to stand up. And it may need to bloody their nose in some form of fashion, but it ain't going to happen with the prancing foreign minister dancing here and dancing there. It ain't going to happen with that. 3 cheers, folks, and Jai Hind. I hope you guys had a nice weekend.